where your supply is. He who dares assert the I may calmly wait while hurrying fate meets his demand with sure supply. Helen Wilmans. Never affirm or think about yourself, your prospects, your career, or your happiness what you do not wish to come true. Every child should be taught to expect success and happiness, to believe that the good things in the world are intended for him. We can never get more out of ourselves than we expect. If we expect large things, demand them. If we hold the large mental attitude toward our work, toward our life, we shall get much greater results than if we depreciate ourselves and look only for little things. The man who dares not assert the I with undaunted assurance, with the conscious vigor and determination of one who believes in his divinity, will never do great things, because he will never make the demand that will draw a sure supply. Before one can hope to win out in any undertaking, he must be able to say, I, positively, with the force of conviction. He must polarize his mind to the positive attitude. This is the attitude that creates, that produces results in the world of matter as well as in the realm of spirit. The positive man is forceful because he has faith in himself. He forms his opinions without the aid of others and is not afraid to stand for what he thinks. He does not hesitate to differ with others. He is not a mush of concession, like the negative weakling who subscribes to what everyone he meets says, thinks, or believes. He makes statements with positiveness, without hesitation. The Bible would never have gained such a dominating place in the life of the race had it referred to authorities to substantiate its statements, had it tried to prove its doctrines. Much of its supremacy has come from its tremendous positiveness, its vigorous affirmation of facts. You will find nothing negative or wishy-washy in the great book. Its assertions are imperious, positive, dogmatic. It is one perpetual hammering, driving home of truths, of great fundamental facts. The biblical writers speak with assurance and authority because of their profound conviction of the truths they utter. They do not argue or plead, they affirm. There is no appeal. As has been well said of the Bible, it never appeals to readers for confirmation. It states, every line breathes dominance, superiority, and confidence. We find the same imperious dominant qualities, the same positiveness in great leaders of men. They deal in affirmations. They throw themselves with intense conviction into whatever they attempt. They continually, both mentally and vocally, assert their power to do it. And the result is a natural corollary. They succeed in what they attempt. The difference between the positive and the negative mind, the man who can assert the I with vigor and the man who cannot, is the difference between success and failure. The positive man keys his life to the I can note, the negative man to the I can't. The positive man denies the limitations of environment, of resources, of opportunities. He not only believes but knows that infinite bounty surrounds him and that he can make it his own. The negative man, on the other hand, will not fight against environment, no matter how hard it may be, but will yield to it without a struggle. He sees limitations and difficulties everywhere. To him, obstacles are insurmountable. But for the positive, dominant qualities in man, we would still be living in caves and eating our food raw. It is the positive, forceful man that overcomes. Obstacles do not frighten or turn him from his purpose. They are to him but the apparatus in the gymnasium, which give him additional strength and reinforce his determination to achieve. He knows that he can command the infinite supply, that the great forces of the universe are working for him, and that he has only to direct them. He knows that it is his birthright to conquer, that the Creator put him here for that very purpose, to overcome, to grow, to ascend, to be godlike. Everyone has sufficient positive power to guide and direct his own life if he will only use and develop that power. If he does not use it, he will lose. If you do not think and act for yourself, if you do not assert yourself and push your own way, the forces about you will take command and push you. Remember this: when you are pushed, you go downhill, and when you push yourself, you go uphill. Everyone is either pusher or pushed in this world. Even the kingdom of heaven is taken by violence. He who would attain it must be aggressive for truth, No namby-pamby weakling who is afraid to stand on his own feet and fight for the right can get there. If you ever expect to do anything to justify your existence, quit looking for some outside agent which will move your life train. Your power is coiled up right inside you. There is where your engine is. The name of that engine is I. Use the great force at your command. Get up steam and forge ahead. You will never get very far by any other means. You are only losing time in trying to get any power outside of yourself, impulse or influence, to move you forward. When the Creator made you a co-partner in His work, He put inside of you all the machinery necessary for the part you were to play. Claim what He intended for you. Develop and use your machinery, and no power on earth can hold you back from the goal that you set for yourself. Say to yourself, "It is my duty to make good, to obey that inner urge, that ambition prod which ever bids me up and on. I am resolved never again to allow anything to interfere with the free and untrammeled exercise of my physical and mental faculties. I will unfold all the possibilities that the Creator has enfolded in the ego, the I of me. There is no lost day in God's calendar, no allowance for waste, and I am determined henceforth to make the most of the stuff that has been given me, to play the part of a son of omnipotence." As a matter of fact, every day has a splendid possible prize awaiting every human being, a prize which no money can buy. It can be obtained only at the price of splendid effort and self-assertion. We are too timid, too fearful of results, even to attempt what we long to do, and we are too easy with ourselves, too willing to drift with the tide of our moods. Every man who has ever achieved grandly has been a stern schoolmaster to himself. He has incessantly affirmed his ideal and held himself unwaveringly to its realization. By cultivating the positive, we drive out the negative. This is a psychological law. It is to empty by filling. Affirmation is always more potent than negation. Professor Halleck says, "By restraining of an emotion, we can frequently throttle it. By inducing an expression, we can often cause its allied emotions." Professor William James makes a similar statement. "Refuse to express a passion," he says, "and it dies. Count 10 before venting your anger, and its occasion seems ridiculous. Whistling to keep up courage is no mere figure of speech. On the other hand, sit all day in a moping posture, sigh, and reply to everything with a dismal voice, and your melancholy lingers. There is no more valuable precept in moral education than this, as all of us who have experience know. If we wish to conquer undesirable emotional tendencies in ourselves, we must assiduously and in the first instant cold-bloodedly go through the outward movements of those contrary dispositions which we wish to cultivate. Smooth the brow, brighten the eye, contract the dorsal rather than the ventral aspect of the frame, and speak in a major key, pass the genial compliment, and your heart must indeed be frigid if it does not gradually thaw." Few of us realize the tremendous force there is in the vigorous, incessant affirmation of conditions which we long to establish. United with the visualizing of man or woman, we yearn to be the thing we are determined to achieve. It becomes an irresistible power in shaping events. Act the part, affirm the possession, the assured realization of the thing desired, and it will tend to materialize. This is a fundamental law of creation. What is called autosuggestion or self-suggestion is one of the most active agencies employed in mind building. We can literally make our minds thought by thought, as we can our bodies fiber by fiber, through vigorous affirmation. There is a mysterious power in the spoken word which gets a greater hold upon us than simply passing the same word through the mind or looking at it on the printed page. The vocal expression of a thought makes a greater impression upon the memory and especially influences the subconscious mind. It works like a leaven in the whole nature, putting agents in motion that establish a connection between us and our desires, the objects for which we are working. The persistent affirmation of our ability to do that which we have undertaken in a superb, kingly fashion is a great stimulus, a positive creative force. There is nothing more helpful in building a strong positive character than bracing yourself up by searching, heart-to-heart talks with yourself. In this way, better perhaps than in any other, You can take stock of your mental assets and improve yourself along the line. If you are timid, for instance, or even feel if you are something of a coward, stoutly deny it. Insist that you are no shirker, no coward, that you are brave even to daring. Boldly assume the quality of a hero. Vehemently affirm that you actually possess invincible courage, and you will be surprised at your immediate increase of strength and positiveness. Deny that you have any weakness, defect, or deficiency which can handicap your career. Insist upon affirming the positive quality, the winning quality. If you lack decision, if you are a waverer, a vacillator, if you are a putter off of things, if procrastination runs in your blood, persistently affirm that you possess the opposite qualities. At the same time, resolve that you are going not only to play the heroic part in life, that you are not only going to begin to work upon the duty awaiting you, but that you are going to put it through, that you are going to do things, and that you will never again allow yourself to waver, to procrastinate in the smallest matter, even if you do make mistakes now and then. Better make a mistake and forge ahead than to remain negative and inactive. The habit of vigorous affirmation is the habit of victory. But remember that action must follow on the heels of resolution, or you will never go any farther. Affirmation and resolution without prompt endeavor for realization are worse than useless. It is the man of action, of continued and repeated action, the man who never acknowledges defeat who ultimately wins out. During our Civil War, the Southern generals said it didn't do any good to beat Grant because he never knew when he was beaten and, consequently, wouldn't stay beaten. Men who leave their mark on the world are men of iron resolution, of grim determination. If youth were only taught at home and in school the power of an inflexible resolve, an inexorable affirmation of the thing they are determined to accomplish, if they were only taught the invincibleness of an unshakable will, of the positive, victorious mental attitude, of a resolve which knows no defeat, life would not be half so hard. Nerve us with incessant affirmatives. Don't bark against the bad, but chant the beauties of the good. The positive, creative, affirmative elements are our friends. They draw us our sure supply. All negatives are our enemies. They drive away supply. Affirm the good, never the bad, the bright, never the dark, the true, and never the false. Harmony, never discord. We should never forget that whatever tends to optimism is ready to give us a lift. The first step toward a happy, successful life is to get control of the supply that is ready to flow in answer to our demand. This you can do by forming the habit of affirming that the best will come to you, that only the things that are good for you can come into your life. Don't let yourself slip into the foolish habit of anticipating trouble, misfortune, sickness, disaster, accidents. To anticipate or expect such things is to affirm their reality and draw them to you. The habit of anticipating them will get them into the habit of arriving. You will thus be drawn into a current of circumstances corresponding to the character of your negative thought. Put yourself into a positive, success and happiness attitude the first thing every morning by taking time, even if only a few minutes, to communicate with the Creator. Get into tune with the infinite, the source of your strength, the moment you awake. Keep yourself in harmony with the principle which underlies your being during the day, and your every act will be a step forward on the desired road. Say to yourself constantly, "Happiness is my birthright. I was made to exult in life, not go about with a long, sad, dejected face as though it had been a bitter disappointment, as though I were a misfit in the world. I was made to radiate joy and gladness and go through life as a conqueror. I am indeed a child of the Creator, and I know that I am. It is a positive insult to Him to go through the world as though I were a beggar, a slave. I bear the image of the King of Kings, and it is my business to make all men see the likeness. It is my duty to prove my divine heritage by radiating royal manhood. I know of no practice which will do more for one's growth and life enlargement than the habit of rising above one's moods and discouragements through perpetual affirmation of one's divinity. If, for example, you get up in the morning feeling negative, blue, and discouraged, if you don't feel like working at anything, just go off alone and have a good heart-to-heart talk with yourself, something like this. Now look here, young man or young woman, none of this. You are going to do a grand day's work today. You are going to get right out of this condition. You have had enough of it. If you are a real man or woman, you will rise above your mood and wring victory out of this day, even though it looks so unpromising. It does not matter what comes or what goes, what happens or what does not happen. There is one thing I'm sure of, and that is I'm going to be positive, creative, to get the most possible out of today. I'm not going to allow anything to rob me of my happiness or my right to live this day through from beginning to end and not merely to exist. I do not care what comes. I shall not allow any annoyance, any happening, any circumstance which may cross my path to rob me of my power and peace of mind. I will not be unhappy today, no matter what occurs. I am going to enjoy it to its fullest capacity. This shall be a complete day in my life. I shall not allow the enemies of my happiness to mar it. No misfortune in the past, nothing which has happened to me in days gone by, which has been disagreeable or tragic. No enemies of efficiency shall be guests in my spirit's sacred enclosure today. Only happy thoughts, joy thoughts, friend thoughts shall find entertainment in my soul this day. No negative thoughts, none of my enemies shall gain admittance to scrawl their hideous autographs on the walls of my mind. There shall be no admittance today except to the friends of my best moods. I will tear down all black, sable pictures and hang in their place pictures of joy and gladness, of things which will encourage, cheer, and increase my power. Everything which ever handicapped my life, which has made me uncomfortable and unhappy, shall be expelled from my mental kingdom this day and every coming day. If you make a resolve like this every morning and live up to it during the day, you cannot help being positive, productive, creative. The positive mind repels all thought enemies that would hinder progress. Doubt, fear, despair, worry, these have no place in the creative brain. They are products of the negative mind. The man who would bend circumstances to his will cannot afford to harbor them. Hold negative, despondent, discouraged thoughts, and your surroundings will be negative, unpropitious. Hold positive, confident, hopeful, cheerful thoughts, and a congenial environment will manifest itself. It is wonderful what right thinking can accomplish even in a naturally weak, negative mind. The insistent and persistent holding of the positive thought, the assurance thought, the self-confidence, the self-faith thought, the determined effort to think and act for oneself, to direct one's own forces will gradually change a negative, non-productive mentally into a positive, creative one. I have known very timid, sensitive people who scarcely dared to say their souls were their own before others, to so cure their habit of self-effacement and so strengthen their weak self-confidence by constant audible affirmation of their own strength, that in a very few months they had largely overcome this weakness. Fear is negative, courage is positive, affirmative. If we could make our lives effective, we must root out all of the things which keep us in discord, all negative elements, and give ourselves over to the power of affirmation. Many a person has ruined his life effort by depreciating it and sending out to those about him the negative vibration of his inferiority. We radiate our faith, our confidence in ourselves or our doubts, and distrust. Others catch the contagion of our opinion of ourselves. Whatever you do, don't set up your own mind in that of others a picture of yourself as weak, ineffective, negative personality. People do not realize the harm they do by making uncomplimentary and unfavorable remarks about themselves. It does not matter what it may be. The assertion of anything unfavorable to us or unlike what we wish to be is injurious. How often we hear men and women say, "I can never remember anything. I'm always forgetting umbrellas and packages. I can never remember the names of our faces," and similar negative, depreciatory remarks. It never occurs to them that by making such statements as these, they are strengthening their defects. They are not aware that by impressing these unfortunate images of themselves upon their mind mirror, they are seriously injuring their self-confidence, their ultimate chance of being what they would like to be or of getting what they desire. The character of civilization would radically be changed in a short time if parents were to teach their children the wonderful, strengthening, character-building power in the habit of affirmation. If boys and girls were impressed with the truth that the constant affirming of the good, the beautiful, and the true, the assistant holding of the ideal of themselves as they would like to be, is a real creative force that tends to actualize what they long for, many of the problems of the race would be solved. As a matter of fact, the worst enemy, as well as the best friend, any human being ever has is inside of him. The very mental attitude of the majority of people is utterly antagonistic to their advancement. A really brainy professional man whom I meet quite often is a striking example of the baneful effects of the negative, self-depreciatory thought. He wanted to do something big in his line, but he has had only mediocre success, and in consequence has so soured on life that he seems to have lost the power to enjoy himself. The truth is, the early contracted habit of self-castigation and unfavorable comparison with others who were more fortunate at the start has stayed by him through the years and practically disqualified his mind for real enjoyment or for making the most of his talents. Another negative character of this type is a man in commercial life who is forever recalling his lack of opportunities. He never tires of referring to the fact that he was handicapped at his very birth by a slovenly, slipshod father, and that all through life he has been placed at a great disadvantage compared with other men. He believes and constantly affirms that he is unlucky, that he has never been at the right spot at the right time, that no matter how hard he works, he feels a mysterious something holding him back. Some malignant fate or destiny, he complains, is always tripping him up, thwarting his most strenuous efforts, overturning his best laid plans. Through its machinations, though he has worked harder than anybody else he knows, he and his family have remained in poverty, while his associates have become prosperous. The cause of this man's failure is not far to seek. It is plain that he started wrong and has been going wrong ever since. He has been talking failure all of his life, affirming hard times, poverty, ill luck, and disappointment. He has been sowing thistles and all sorts of ill weeds in his garden, and yet he wonders why his harvests have been so stingy, so blighted, and overshadowed by weeds. Affirmations, acts, motives, ambitions, mental attitudes are seeds sown in human gardens. Their character determines what our harvests shall be. Our future reaping depends entirely on our past sowing. What we are enjoying or suffering today is the result of yesterday's sowing. We are reaping weeds, thistles, or beautiful flowers and luscious fruit according to the seeds we have sown. The only soil in which our good seed thoughts will flourish is that of mental harmony. In this fruitful ground lies the secret of all efficiency and happiness. To come into unity with the author of our being is to realize perfect mental harmony. And this is the first requisite of an efficient life, a goal that can be reached only by the road of constant, unfailing affirmation. When you long for something that is perfectly legitimate for you to have, sow your affirmation seed in perfect confidence that it will bloom in reality. Say to yourself, "Our Father, Mother God, is no respecter of persons. He is not partial in his treatment of his children. They all have the same rights, the same privilege. He will give me through my own effort what I need, what I ask for. The poorest, most ragged wretch that crawls has just as many hours in his day as has the ermine king. I can and I will do what I long to do. I will be what I desire to be." Affirm this again and again to yourself. Do not wait for an opportunity. Make your opportunity. The power of affirmation will work miracles for you. Most people seem to think that if they were only in an ideal environment, without worry or anxiety regarding the living-getting problem, if they were free from pain and in vigorous health, they would then be perfectly happy. But, as a matter of fact, we are not half so dependent for happiness upon environment, upon circumstances as we imagine we are. False ambition, envy, and jealousy are responsible for much of our uneasiness, our restlessness and discontent. Our minds are so intent upon what other people have and are doing that we do not get the tithe of the enjoyment and satisfaction out of our own work, out of our own possessions, that they should afford us. We think so much about what others have and spend so much time wondering why we cannot have similar things that we do not see the beauty, loveliness, and sweetness in our own environment. We question and envy when we should affirm and realize. we neglect the most potent means within our grasp, the miracle working power of affirmation. The supply will come in answer to our demand. Every one of us has an inalienable right to be comfortable, prosperous, free from anxiety, in short, to be happy. Man was not intended to be a worrying machine. The fundamental principle of the human constitution is based on harmony, and when we are in harmonious relations with the universe, we attain the maximum efficiency of power, of usefulness to the world. It is then we get the maximum enjoyment and happiness out of life. Is it not worthwhile to get into such relations? Is it not foolish to remain in discord when by the simple process of affirmation, linked with divine faith and effort, we can transform ourselves and our environment? End of chapter 10.